Michael, he, him from New Mexico wants to ask the hosts about their morals concerning slavery, murder, etc. I know this is right up your alley, J. Mike. So, Michael, can you hear us? Do we have you right? What is it that you'd like to talk about?
Yeah, I just wanted to call in and pretty much talk about slavery, murder, torture, those things. We all disagree with them. And oftentimes Christians will say they disagree with those things, right? And then turn around and defend them, right?
Well, I'm gonna let you talk. I'm gonna disagree with you on one point. I don't think we all disagree with all of the things you said. I think the big three are typically murder, rape, and slavery. But we have seen, especially in recent times, I've seen people who will argue that sometimes those are justified. And you mentioned torture. I could probably find a whole bunch of people who think that torture would be morally justified. But anyway, please do continue.
Sure. I guess everything could be morally justified. I mean, there's very few cases where rape is justified, but like most things, I guess I would say needless torture, needless murder. And, you know, a lot of the times Christians will turn around and defend these things, defend the concept of hell, defend slavery in the Bible. But I noticed a lot of atheists will try to defend the same things if you ask them about doing those things to animals.
Well, let's define then. Before I'd love to hear a J. Mike on this. So let's take murder, right? The worst one, probably. Slavery may be worse, but both slavery and murder are, in my definition, and just so you know where I'm coming from, I am an attorney. So when I think of murder, I go to open the law books, and it is the unjustified killing of a human being by a human being. That's murder, right? That's the law in every jurisdiction in the United States, generally. So that's something that we all agree on. The unjustified killing of a non-human by a human is not generally agreed upon by far. In fact, I don't think it's illegal, that particular act, unless it is called animal cruelty, right? There are statutes for animal cruelty, and some of them include killing of an animal as cruel, but some don't. So I think that we can have a conversation about that difference. Like, why is it that we all agree that the unjustified killing of a human is bad enough that we're going to criminalize it? We're not just going to fine you, but we're going to criminalize it. But we disagree on the other one. What are your thoughts, J. Mike?
Oh, I want to see if he has a response to you first, because I don't. Maybe okay. He's got a train of.
So my question there is, how do you explain that? Like, do you at least acknowledge that we don't have agreement on the killing of animals, and that I would assert that a significant number of people would very much call those two different moral questions: the killing of a human versus the killing of an animal. Mm-hmm. Do you agree that that is true? I'm not saying where you fall, but do you agree that that's true?
Yeah, like definitely it's true. There's a lot more division on whether or not it's okay to do those things to animals. Okay. And I agree that legally, like not only legally, but also morally, people draw distinctions. But yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, J. Mike, what's your take on why that distinction exists, or should not exist?
Well, I mean, when I hear those terms, I think there's already like baked in the wrongness or something like that. So like,
the use of the term murder, instead of like, killing,
yeah, it's kind of got this. It's like implied, that it's like unjustified, or at least the same kind of definition I have. Mm-hmm. I'm more so like interested in because you had said something like, but atheists won't do this for like animals, right? So you're like going on some kind of like a vegan concern or something.
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah, and I don't know that there's like a great, like, I have a lot of friends that are vegan, and if they like run, name the trait on me, I'm like, I don't fucking know the trait. Like, I think that's maybe an unreasonable demand to expect somebody to be able to like determine what threshold or trait that's, I don't know. It seems like it could be unreasonable. Like, I get it. I can't figure out how to argue back with them. You know what I mean? Like, they take me to task. So that's always been like difficult for me, because I don't want sentient creatures to suffer, and so I don't know that I have the best example for that. But I just intuit that like conscious creatures like animals, certain animals are just like I can have well-established projects and relationships and certain things that just aren't privy in the animal kingdom as to the degree at least that I sympathize with. So, for me, it's like I want to be vegan. So it's a struggle that I have, but I honestly couldn't like give you, I couldn't say I'm okay with it. Like when I eat a chicken sandwich, like I'm okay that a chicken got, murdered or something. Whereas like, people that are defending slavery or something like that, like they're okay with it. Like they seemingly are okay with, oh, they were indentured servitudes and this is something that they did. Like to me, it's a little different when I'm actively like, I don't want animals to suffer. I'm very conditioned in my society and I have very limited options. I don't make a ton of money, so I can't just go spend twice as much money on food, for vegan products. So for me, I guess I don't really view those the same thing, though I do kind of get your concern, if that makes sense. Like I understand your concern. I think that like Christians and other people that are, defending this, like they don't see it as wrong, right? Whereas I think we shouldn't. I think we should eat lab meat if I had that option.
Yeah, okay, that makes sense. I mean, I do have to say, like, you don't have to spend twice as much money on vegan food. I mean, hold on.
Let's we didn't bring that all up.
Might have been hyperbolic, but when I have tried, I've spent more money and been more hungry, and it's been more of a nuisance than me being happy. So you could just say I'm selfish, I guess.
Yeah. So I want to keep this on the rails. I guess before we get back to you, Michael, my question for you is, why did you call into a show about religion and the separation of religion and government about veganism? That's my real question. And you couched it as, I want to ask the host about their morals concerning slavery murder, but what you really wanted to talk about was veganism. I kind of feel like you were very deceptive there. Can you explain that?
Well, I mean, it truly is what I wanted to talk about was slavery and murder, but just with regards to animals, I guess it was kind of like, I'm not trying to be, I understand there is a level of deception, and I thought it was a good starting point to understand, like, hey, we're not okay.
That's why I wanted to ask you about it, because that's what I had, like, suspected too. I was like, you brought the animal thing, and I was like, I'm thinking you want to make this a vegan thing, and it's like, I can't, and that's why I kind of said what I said. I was like, I can't really give you much, man. Like, I would love to not eat animals and I would be happier in that sense that I'm like, oh, I'm not contributing to this. I've told like two of my really good friends about, like, I don't know what it is. I eat a chicken sandwich. I don't like feel guilty or bad. I can't like make myself feel bad. But if I saw somebody like kick a puppy, I can't reason myself into being like, what the fuck? But I would be like, yeah, just initially, I can't really explain that. I mean, I think being conditioned in the society I'm in is partly to blame. I'm not trying to take all of it off or anything, but it's not as interesting of a conversation to me on this platform as it is like outside of this platform.
Right. That's my question is, why are you calling a show entitled The Atheist Experience to talk about this?
Oh, did my lights just go off? I mean, I'm in the dark. Hold on.
Okay, we can hear you. That's okay. I'll talk to Michael. So Michael, why are you calling a show called The Atheist Experience to talk about veganism?
Well, I mean, you guys discuss morality a lot on the show, and I think I wanted to discuss a little bit about your guys' morality. And I understand it's not necessarily related to religion.
I think, okay, I don't want to put words in your mouth, but nothing you said just now changes my mind to think you want to call to advocate for veganism. And I don't see what that has to do with religion. Can you be an atheist and a vegan? Yes.
You can be an atheist
be a Christian
and
a vegan? Yes. Can you be an atheist and support slavery for humans? Yes. Can you be a Christian and support slavery?
Yeah, exactly.
For humans? Yes. So I don't understand why you're calling this show instead of the pro-meat call-in show or the pro-vegan call-in show. Why not call those shows? Why call this one?
Well, I mean, I'm not aware of those kinds of shows, but I mean, if you want to point me in the right direction, if you're uninterested in
TikTok, people have vegan debates.
Google, TikTok, all sorts of stuff. So what I'm hearing is you want to preach. You weren't aware of any shows that were on topic, so you called us.
I mean, I didn't necessarily want to talk about veganism and like how expensive it is to buy fake meat products, like twice as expensive.
No, I mean, look, you could like absolutely destroy me on that with just some empirical facts, right?
Right,
All you have
right.
to do is just show me some stuff, and I'd concede right away, and I'd be very happy about it. Probably not the best choice of words for me to say. I mean, it was an experience I had where I was like, damn, okay, this is a little bit more pricey. It's not. I probably shouldn't have even said it. The main point is like, I mean. Look, I can be a moral realist. I can be a moral anti-realist. I can be an atheist and say, I want everybody. I can be a misanthrope. I want everybody on animals. I want everyone to die. Like, I could say that. I could do that, right? It's kind of like, I don't see what it has to do with, especially with like the cold opening we started with. It's very unrelated to what we're doing. I mean, there's just so many permutations of like an atheist being a vegan, not vegan, realist about it, and not a realist about it. Like, I don't really know that it helps. I tried to be transparent with you with my own kind of anxieties about this, just to be like, hey, look, I struggle with this and I don't know the right solution, but I just don't find that the same as like, me not being able to like pinpoint this as like, oh, well, I can explain to you what exactly I think is wrong about this other thing, like slavery or torture, or like, torturing humans or something like that. It might take me a minute to like explain that to you, but I don't know that means I'm like inconsistent because like I have an inability to like explain one aspect about my value system, right? Like,
what are your thoughts, Michael? And for the record, I just wanted to point that out. I'm not saying you're a bad person, and I think you've been very respectful and polite during the call. So I just wanted to point that out, and I need to be transparent on my motives. I've been a fan of this show for many years and a host on this show for several years. We do get a lot of very deceptive people calling because they just want to call and talk about whatever they want to talk about. And some number of those are vegans, and they come in and just they want to hijack the conversation and yell at us and tell us that we're running away when we say, hey, this is a show about religion. Can we talk about something else? So you've been very respectful, except for, I think, for the initial sort of questionable way you described the call. I do want to let you keep talking. So could you please respond to J. Mike?
Sure. So I understand that you think that when people are against human slavery, human murder, it's like or when people are for those things, it's like they're okay with it. But this is something that you struggle with. You're not necessarily okay with it. You don't necessarily feel bad. Like, that's kind of what I'm hearing.
Well, no, I'm not okay with it, but I'm trying to be honest and go, but like when I eat a chicken sandwich, I'm not like, very sad and mourning the chicken or something. But when I reflect on it, like we talk about it now, I'm like, yeah, like I do care about sentient creatures. I'm not gonna like lie. Like what I really fucking hate is I'll go see some of my friends who are vegans debate, and then you'll see from like the meat eater side, just like steak, yeah, fucking steak, and they'll have like a steak profile picture, and it's like it makes me, it's like as a meat eater, it like embarrasses the shit out of me. I'm like, God, like. There's no, and when I've seen some of the better ones, I haven't seen like a cogent argument or anyone make these like good points. So I struggle like philosophically with it, right? It's something that I want to change about myself. I just haven't actively made that change. I'm just trying to be transparent to you with like, my own anxieties with it. It's like, yeah, I mean, yeah. I can be inconsistent 100%, but I don't find that to be inconsistent with like, other points of my value system. Yeah. You'd have to kind of show me how it's necessarily related, but
yeah,
I mean,
no, I get it. I think I'm with you. I mean, I haven't even discussed my position yet. So my take on this is very similar to J. Mike's. It's like if somebody asked me what's one moral stance you have now that you might be wrong about, it would be sort of where that line is. Now, I do think there's a line. If I'm asked, is there's two burning buildings and there's a human baby and a tank full of tadpoles, which would you save? You can only save one. I'm picking the human baby. Why? Well, I could describe a big difference between the potential and all of that, but what it really boils down to in the end, because I could ask that same question between there's 10 chimpanzees and a human baby. Which are you saving? Well, now it's a tougher question for me. And that's what morals are, right? Morals are not an answer yes or no. It's like examining where lines are, and around that line, there's a gray area, and you start having conversations. So it has something to do with level of sentience, potential of what your life could do for both you and for humanity and for the world. And it has, if I'm honest with myself, something to do with speciesism, both conscious and evolved, right? We've all evolved. One of the reasons we have morals in the first place, in my opinion, is sort of this evolutionary trait where altruistic behavior benefits the species and enables it to reproduce and survive. You know, put short, piranha don't eat each other, and there's a reason for that, right? So there's a bunch of things I could point out to say I think there's a difference and I think there's a line. Where exactly that is, I think it's different from person to person and case by case. So I'm generally in the agreement with you and J. Mike. What are your thoughts on that? Do you have any questions?
Yeah, I mean, that makes sense to me. There's a lot of gray areas we can talk about, chimpanzees versus babies, how many tied up on one side of the tracks do there have to be if you pull the lever and run over this amount of mentally disabled babies. Like we can talk about these things. But I mean, I guess what I'm interested in is like kind of if we were doing to animals what we did to humans, for example, you know, slaughtering humans. Yeah. And I understand you bring up speciesism. You bring up speciesism like altruistic behavior towards one's own species, you know, leads the species to thrive. I mean,
real quick, I don't know that he's saying he might. I don't think he is, because I mean, you could just run some name the trait kind of. Well, it seems like equivalent to being racist or something. Which, you know, I have friends that like make that kind of argument. But I think he's saying he understands how he has a nature, and he knows that J. Mike has a very similar kind of nature. We share a nature as humans, and he knows what it's like. He has like a qualia, right? A qualitative experience of what it's like to suffer. And it's not clear that inference could, I mean, maybe it might not be clear to him that inference could be made about other particular species or something.
Yeah, I think there's three different things related to speciesism. One was, and I used the word admittedly. I was admitting that there's some speciesism in there, right?
Oh, sorry, I must have tuned out.
No. But there's three different interpretations that I meant all simultaneously. I tried to hit them all. So there's speciesism in the sense of I am a product of billions of years of evolution that has encouraged altruistic behavior towards yourself, your kind, right? Your tribe, right? That has benefited evolution. So that instinct is strong. I would argue it's very strong, beaten only by the urge to eat and reproduce and those other things. But I think it's a very strong, and you see it across all species. Many species you see this behavior. Not everyone, but it seems to be an element of evolution. Now, does that mean I'm arguing that anything that is produced through evolution is morally good? No, I'm not making that argument. I'm just saying, admittedly, that's playing into who I am and how I make that evaluation of like, there's an instinct in me that as between tadpoles and a human baby, I'm gonna save the baby. And part of that comes from billions of years of evolution that train me to think that large heads on four-limbed bodies with large eye-to-head ratio are cute, scientifically proven. Like that it's a precious thing, that it should be preserved, it should be protected. So I'm admitting that, but also I'm admitting that from a speciesist point of view, that I understand, I can relate to, as you were saying. Yeah. I can relate to a human. I think I can relate to a chimpanzee. We have a local zoo I go to. I skip the chimpanzee exhibit because I don't think that the chimpanzees should be there unless there's a very good reason. And but I don't think that same about the lizard exhibit or the snake exhibit. So I'm just admitting that for many reasons, I think I agree with you, but I think there's an interesting conversation. And but I guess getting back to my main point is I'm not sure this is the show to talk about it on, because really our audience is looking for people who are calling in to talk about religion, and whether you're religious or not, you can have those beliefs or not have those beliefs.
I will say I do think this is like a very important topic, though.
Yeah,
like that. Yeah. I mean, I'm not saying
I think in the next generation or two, it will be the thing that changes the most. I think it's sort of the next social thing to fall, maybe, or one of the next few, maybe, that will become more prominent, especially with lab-grown meat. I'm looking forward to stuff like that.
I mean, that would relieve a lot of my, especially if I know it's not like, you know, carcinogenic or something.
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
Try to figure out.
Lab grown meat by Jewel.
Yeah, exactly. Like, let me see who's making this first. But no, I this is something that I have philosophical anxieties on, or moral anxieties, whatever you want to call it. I don't know what I'm saying. So I completely get it, and like I said, I have a lot of friends that have this position, and I don't know how to argue with them. A lot of times, I think they're, it's a really hard position for. If someone wanted to call, like, oh, J Mike's running, that's a conversation I will actively run from. I'd be like, oh, you're running, name the trade, I'm out of here, peace, see ya, deuces. So,
I think put another way. Well, let me ask Michael. I don't want to hog the conversation. Michael, what are your thoughts about what we are saying?
Well, what you said about the evolution of our species was very interesting, and it was basically an explanation, as to why we value our own species. But I mean, I'm concerned with whether or not it's moral to only value our species, and I think you mentioned.
Oh.
And that's what I said, right? I said I'm not arguing that because evolution produced an effect, it's a good effect. Evolution explains a lot of bad things. The desire to dominate, to rape, to enslave. You can tie that up in evolution as to tribalism and me. The ego has to be the most important thing in evolution if you're going to survive, unless you're using some sort of insect overwhelm metaphor where my ego doesn't matter. It more matters that we overwhelm. But just because evolution produces a thing doesn't mean it's good. And I pointed that out. So my point about that is it is explanatory, and it is one of those things that's very hard to overcome, just like the sex drive and the desire to eat and other things. It's so inbred in us. And again, I'm not a biologist, but everything I've read on the topic, like tribalism, altruistic behavior amongst your fellows, comes from evolution. So just wanted to clarify that. Please continue, Michael.
Sure, that makes sense. And I think I heard you say that you said, now just because I'm saying this, that doesn't make anything explained through evolution moral. But I thought that you were saying that kind of influences how you make the moral judgment about whether or not it's okay to do what we do to animals. I thought that's kind of what you were saying.
I think it influences how I make the judgment. I wouldn't necessarily call that particular element moral. I would say that influences my decision-making for sure.
When you say moral, by the way, like, are you like it's probably not important. I'm just curious. Are you?
Here we go.
Do you believe in like objective morality or no?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know as much as I could on this, but I don't see a way to bridge the is-ought gap. I mean, I think that if I say it's wrong to kill people, that's my opinion, right?
Oh well, I mean, you can be a realist and then concede like, yeah, like the is-ought is like, there's this problem in like logic. Like, I'm not going to be able to just like smuggle in these values that weren't anywhere in the premises, right? But you could still be a realist and accept that kind of distinction or whatever, or inability to bridge.
J. Mike, for our audience, define moral realism and its opposite. Oh
yeah, like a moral realist is. I mean, I guess you'll find anyone that might have a different position, but like generally, it's someone that believes that there are stance-independent moral facts. So
and by that, you mean
there are facts independent of the opinions or
right
stance that you might take, or like
if humans didn't exist, for example, this rule would still hold true.
Yeah, it's like if I shoved a ball in your face and you closed your eyes and you're like, nah, it's not there, I don't see it, blah blah blah. Like, the ball stance independently exists. Right. I understand you have your other opinions, but
right.
The facts are that despite your opinion, it exists, right?
Yeah.
And
so a moral realist believes there are moral rules. First, as a shorthand, it's complicated, but these rules exist as almost a property of the universe, whether or not you believe they exist or whether or not you even exist.
Yeah, I think the worst thing to do is like be really precise with philosophy on a platform where like not everybody's trying to like, oh, I'm waking up to read philosophy today or whatever, because it's not everybody's thing and it just confuses, and I'm trying to do way better at that. So I think doing it in the broader terms like does actually just help people generally understand that. But you like maybe a better term that the Phil Bros might get mad at is mind independence, right? And there are some issues on like why you would say that, but look, it's independent of what you think, and it's true. And if I was just curious if you had that position because most vegans I know they're moral anti-realists. They don't think that morals that there's like a fact about what we should or shouldn't do independent of what they think. They basically think they can show like inconsistency in other people's value systems and stuff like that, right?
Yeah. So it sounds like, Michael, from your answer where you said you couldn't bridge the Azot, that tends to, in my mind, put you in sort of the anti-realist camp, that it is an exercise in deciding what the game is and then what the rules are and then following those rules and saying, well, if the rules are this, therefore, then we shouldn't treat animals this way. But if the rules are that, then it's okay to treat animals that way. Is that kind of where you are?
Yeah, I mean, I guess I'm a moral anti-realist, and I would say that I think I would go a little further than saying I can prove an inconsistency in someone else's position, and that's as far as I go with veganism. You know, I would
Sure.
say that if we're going to say that it's not okay to kill mentally disabled children, or if like a genetic disease wiped across the earth such that 51% of people were genetically disabled, or if Black people developed differently so that they technically couldn't interbreed with everyone else, technically weren't human, you know. If we're going to say that all those things, sorry, hold on. If we're going to say that all those things still don't make it okay to kill people, then I mean, I think that we logically have to say that it's not okay to kill animals, not okay to rape animals, not okay to like force them by the billions into gas chambers, you know?
Or it's okay to do it to everybody.
Yeah. I mean, yeah.
One or the other.
Yeah, I mean, depending on who you're talking to, I mean,
Right.
you can get into like particularism and all this
Right.
kind of stuff that are responses to this kind of style argument or whatever. But yeah, I mean, I think that is actually a good conversation, and maybe people in the audience won't agree with me here, but I think that is actually a good conversational piece to have. Like, if you have a friend that's willing, and I mean, please do it, like, especially to the people that are like, meat, oh, dumb vegan, like, because that's just so irrational and stupid. And I love to see those people just like I just love to watch their eyes like, oh gosh, like, man, I was not prepared to debate this vegan. Like, it's very, very fascinating and satisfying, I'll say, to see.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think it is good to be able to do that. I just think, if you run into, I just think there's part of me that's like, I think if someone came up to me on the street and just was like, at what point does like the value drop off, and like when is it now permissible to like eat this thing? It's like, I don't know. I mean, I maybe have to sit down and reflect. It does seem like an unreasonable task for me to like think about traits that I don't normally really think about in my daily life and then do it. But I think if once upon reflection, like, yeah, you could actually show that person that like, they're completely inconsistent. And I think a lot of vegans do successfully do that. I think they successfully show that to people. So.
Yeah. Well, Michael, we do have other callers. I do have one last question for you. I think it's fair play for me to ask this, given we've given you all these answers. What is your religious belief?
I'm an atheist.
Okay, well, there you go. Atheist and vegan. Well, thanks for calling in. I really do appreciate it. It is a topic that's interesting. I think we gave it a lot of airtime because I think you were so straightforward and honest and direct with us, so I appreciate that. Feel free to call back if you do have any sort of religious conversations you'd like to have in the future. Mike, I don't know about you, but I've run into that call a bunch. I'm reminded of the meme of the PETA, I think it was PETA, billboard that has a string of, chickens and cats and dogs and bunny rabbits in some order, and then a horse and then a cow, and it says, where do you draw the line? And
I've seen that. Yeah.
Somebody had spray painted a line just above horse and below cow and said right about there. And I find that both just funny, but also it speaks to sort of like when the rubber hits the road. I think that's how most people go about that issue, is they're like, you know what, instinctually I've been either indoctrinated into a society or instinctually or a combination of a bunch of things. That is about where I draw the line. And if you want to change somebody's mind, you got to do the hard work, which I think Michael is doing, which is going to talk to a bunch of individual people. But this show, I
Yeah, I don't think we have like any issues with
Yeah.
with what he came
Yeah.
about, except for like maybe the initial trying to disguise it a little bit.
Yeah.
But I will say, yeah, like that is the way you would do that. And I know vegans that are very successful at, running Name the Trade or something like that, and getting people to. I mean, they might not turn to vegans, but it's hard for me to believe that person didn't walk away going like, oh shit, maybe I am a little inconsistent. I got to figure this out or whatever, and that's good.
Yeah.
Maybe that's why I avoid that. Maybe I don't want to like have my own inconsistencies appear in front of me. But
I've had my own evolution as well. Like I no longer will eat any eggs that aren't certified as being, range fed chickens. Like fighting factory farming is a step along the way, and I'm in favor of that through regulation and laws and all of that stuff. Do I think we should blow up farmers who are doing factory farming? No, I think we need to educate, vote into office people who will willing to regulate and overcome the farm lobby. And yes, it will make that type of agriculture more expensive, but we should also invest in science that counteract that. And maybe we can produce lab eggs and make it everybody happy.
Yeah, that'd be great. It'd be awesome.
Yeah. All right, great.